This is the Voice of the Land podcast with your hosts, Kevin Arnold and Nick Paulus.
And the Cavs have been playing better basketball since the All-Star break. Now, under J.B. Bickerstaff, they are now 3-2. They got kind of blitzed last night by the New Orleans Pelicans, who are a young, athletic, up-and-coming team, and now having Zion out there on the floor has changed a lot for that team. They lost 13 games in a row at one point this season. Now they're 2 games back of the 8th seed in the Western Conference. And they play that traditional Western Conference style basketball, up and down the floor.
Run and gun.
Run and gun. The Cavs have not established that style of play yet. And they tried to play that kind of style last night, and I think they got sucked into that. And Kevin Love talked about it. Coach Bickerstaff talked about it. Even Colin Sexton talked about that as well, that they also can't get down on themselves. I want to know from you, Paulus, are we seeing in the more up-tempo or better style, better consistent basketball out there on the floor and beating some decent teams in this little stretch here, are we seeing a culture being built? I know it's only 5 games in, so it's going to be tough to tell.
3-2, right.
But are they building a culture, or is it more of a facade? And did we see the real Cavs team last night who's not able to keep up with anything because they've established so many bad habits, and now Coach Bickerstaff is challenged with trying to break that culture in a short amount of time, whether he gets a long-term extension or not?
Well, I think he is going to get a long-term extension. I just want to throw that out there right now. I think JB's done a fantastic job since taking over, this team at the halfway point here for us. Halfway point. All-Star break, comes in right around game 50, with 20-something games left.
25 to 30 games,
right? Yeah,
depending on where you're at.
Not many games left. Not the halfway point like it traditionally used to be.
Oh yeah.
That all being said, I think that the Cavs that we saw last night, it's probably going to be like that for the rest of the year. I mean, we're gonna be in these games. We're gonna. It looked like a blowout last night. They cut the lead down in the fourth quarter and got it down to 116 to 104, so a 12-point game. So I mean, it was right around there. But
and I think it was 12 points going into the fourth as well. I think it was 95-83 after they were kind of getting beat up pretty bad by 20 plus points.
Yeah,
but they were to come back, and I turned it back on because I was flipping back and forth last night, and I turned it back on, and then Pelicans went on another run to extend it out to 20+.
And, I mean, you're going to see games like that happen.
Oh, yeah.
It's the NBA. Runs happen for each team.
Even the best teams get blitzed like that from time to time.
Exactly. Absolutely. That all being said, 3-2 since then, since the All-Star break, is a fantastic job. I mean, let's think about this. 2 weeks ago, whenever we're going into this, we didn't think that they would be able to win maybe like 6 games the rest of rest of the year. I mean, we were thinking, oh man, this is going to be a 16-win team that's just going to be awful all the way through. And they've not only done that, but they have a winning record so far. It's a great start here for us, coming out. I'm not expecting playoffs. I wasn't expecting playoffs. I mean, we're 9 games back or 10 games back now. Doesn't matter. You're out. Let's take that out.
Right.
That all being said, it's all about getting getting this young team up and running, getting them more experience, more. I don't know, like set the system in play. I mean, Colin Sexton's been through. This is his 4th head coach. 4th. In not even 2 years. It's absolutely ridiculous.
We say that too often for a lot of young athletes in this town.
Absolutely.
Besides the baseball team.
Baker Mayfield as well.
Right.
That all being said, I think that this is a very good start for this Cavs team, this very young core of the Cavs team. I mean, I'm talking Garland, I'm talking Sexton, I'm talking Porter. I think the 2 beneficiaries so far have been Porter and Sexton. Sexton's been balling out.
Yeah.
These last 5 games, he's been averaging like 25, 26 points. He's been doing a fantastic job, and I'm so happy to see that because I've told you, many times before, he's basically my favorite player in the NBA just because I play just like him. I mean, just run to the basket, throw it up, hopefully something goes in.
Right.
More so for him, it goes in, not so much for me. That being said, it's just so much fun watching this young Cavs team grow And that's all I want to see. The rest of the year, I just want to see him grow. Even if they have a losing record, throughout, finishing up this year, I'll be okay with that, knowing that we got JB coming back next year, Sexton, Porter, Garland. Hopefully Garland sets up his game a little bit better because he's always really hit or miss.
Yeah.
More so miss than not. But I have faith in the guy.
He's been coming on, though, as of late, too.
He has turned it on.
He's been progressing.
A little bit.
And
right.
similar to what Sexton did last year, he got a lot of flack for being the 8th pick and not really playing well at all for most of the season.
Everyone calling out Colin Sexton like, 8th pick of the draft.
Right.
He's the 8th pick of the draft. Honestly, he's probably a top 5 sophomore player. If you think about it, I mean, he's top 5. I mean, what more could you ask for? He's not the number 1 pick.
No.
He doesn't have the talent to be the number 1 pick. He's a very good player. He could make an all-star team. I keep saying this. He could make an all-star team. But that's down the road. It's not right now.
And if put in the right position for a guy that can go get his own shot, I think the most important thing that you've seen, and hopefully this continues, is he doesn't have to create his shot for himself throughout the whole possession, throughout the whole 24-second shot clock. Yeah, he's been scoring a lot of points, but in those wins that they've had, he's scored a lot of points but able to move the ball around, and it somehow finds him again. Because if you are generating the energy and the basketball is moving, when that basketball has energy in it and it's being moved, it's not just being dribbled like the old days with LeBron, the first round with LeBron, where just ISO at the top.
ISO
LeBron
all the time.
Let LeBron go to work, didn't have the shooters around to kick it out, so he tried to go up against 5 different guys. Yeah, he's strong enough to do it, and you saw some great plays from him, and he's got great highlights. He's one of a kind. You're not going to get that kind of thing out of most guys. Once in a generation type players.
I was going to say that. Once in a generation. You're not going to see that from Colin Sexton. I'm sorry.
Right, but it frustrated the heck out of us as Cavs fans when we saw that. And when it helps when you play better or when you have more success. And in the LeBron era, let's face it, there's a lot more success there than in the non-LeBron eras that we've seen over the last 20 or so years. So with Colin Sexton, if you generate energy in that basketball and it's moving and you're not generating energy by just dribbling it, and defenses can just key in on you because defenses aren't what they used to be. No. They're not physical anymore. You can't be as physical out there on the floor.
NBA has changed dramatically over our lifetime.
Right. So if you move the ball a little bit, that opens up so much space for back cuts or little cuts to the basket or even shots from the corner, 3-point baskets. That's become the main thing to look at, shooting from deep. So those are the types of things you're hoping for. My fear, though, and in my heart, I'm hopeful that we've seen a culture change. In my head, I just fear that this is a facade with everybody that's still on this team.
Sure.
The veterans that were so used to just being able to turn it on because they knew that they were going to be in a position to compete for a championship when LeBron was here. And they could just turn it on when they needed to and just go to that guy. Guess what? You don't have that guy. Kevin Love still isn't that guy. At times you see a great leader. At times you see a guy that just wants to pout and falls into those bad habits. And I'm not saying that we need to get rid of Kevin Love or Tristan Thompson, but they need to change their mindset to be that hungry player that they once were when they were in situations with the Cavs in Minnesota.
You see that more with Tristan than you do with Kevin.
Right.
I 100% agree with you. I think Kevin has turned it on a little bit now because let's be honest, I don't think that they agreed with anything John Beilein had to say because John Beilein's a college coach.
And he wants to put him to work.
He had zero experience of the NBA.
Right, and connecting with veterans.
Mindset, anything like that. Yeah, absolutely, with the veterans. And that's an issue. If you don't have the pedigree of an NBA player or coach or lifestyle, they're not going to listen. They're not going to follow you. And why should they? Let's be honest about this. Why should they follow someone that has never been on that level before? You're going to want to follow JB. You're going to want to follow, the people that have that have done this before. That's why they didn't follow John Beilein.
Right, and I understand that. I think, though, as veterans, you can't be the first ones so quickly to turn against someone just because they don't have that pedigree. they may not have that pedigree, but they have the ability to develop that pedigree. And if you don't even give someone a chance, we give so many people, and rightfully so, whether it's in life, in sports, whatever, we give people second chances.
Sure.
But if you can't even give someone a first chance, and you just already, it's almost like it's the saying, don't judge a book by its cover. If you're doing that and not allowing and soaking in what that person has to offer for you and how they're trying to help you and how you can help them, then that is a problem, especially in sports as a leader on the team.
Yeah.
You need to, even if you don't necessarily agree initially with the direction, you need to give it a chance, and you need to make sure the young players that are so influential, that are in a player-driven league that the NBA is, and I know the NFL players want to turn the NFL into the NBA more so than having it being owner-driven as they feel it is.
Yeah.
With all that going on. We'll get into that later. But the NBA is so player-driven, when young guys come in, they're going to be influenced more by the veterans that have been a part of that culture already, more so than a coach trying to establish any culture at all if they're so new like Beeline was. So I do criticize Kevin Love, Tristan Thompson, those veterans for not being that sort of influence. If you got to this point of the season and it still wasn't working and Beeline just did not have the capability to connect with older players at all, and you gave it that chance,
sure,
you went as far as you could, I understand where you're coming from with that frustration and why should they give him a chance. But I think it was so early on that they did not, and that's what got them back to this culture and just being now on a 2-year track of just being one of the worst teams in the league, not seeing any sort of effort or culture change of what you need to develop to get back to NBA relevance like we talked about last week.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's where the players deserve criticism, and Beeline deserves some of the criticism as well for not being able to connect with that and being maybe chew into what his culture already said and what he established in college, thinking that was automatically going to translate. Just assumed it was just going to translate to the NBA and didn't think through that process through the offseason. There was a lot that went on wrong. I'm just fearing that the bad habits are just still so stuck in this culture. I'm hoping over the last part of this season we do see more so of the 3 wins than we do the 2 losses under JB Bickerstaff. And if he gets an extension, then there is an actual direction for the Cavs. We've talked about how we don't know if there is one. If he gets an extension, you see a culture change, guys are starting to buy in, even veterans are starting to buy in, and the young guys follow, then you can have more hopeful faith, more so than I already do right now, that a culture will change and relevance will come back in basketball to the city of Cleveland.
100% agree with you. I think that having that culture change, even just by bringing back JB, is huge. I mean, It is a fantastic step in the right direction. Getting these players to, step forward and agree with the coaching style as well would be a huge culture change, culture shift as well. That all being said, we still have a long ways to go before we even make the playoffs. Okay, before we grab any major free agents, it's going to be a long road ahead, Cleveland Cavalier fans. But we can get there. We can show up and we can do the right things and get us right back on the right track. Maybe not be LeBron-esque years,
right?
Because I think that's a once in a generation sort of thing. Like
where one guy can lead a whole franchise. You see a lot of these younger teams that are maybe middle of the pack between that 3 to 6 seed that are more teams. I mean, the Indiana Pacers.
Just going to say that Indiana.
When they have Victor Oladipo playing at his best, he's still nowhere near that LeBron once in a generation player.
But they're a 3 seed.
It's just having that player just helps take you further, but that's a team culture. Indiana's known for its basketball anyway.
And the way that the
Boston.
East, the Boston, the Boston, they have a great coach. They have a great, front office. They have the pedigree.
But that's a team. Jason Tatum is starting to show out. Jaylen Brown, but that is a team that has come together because they've established a culture.
We need to strive more so for the Indiana Pacers than the Boston Celtics because we don't have that degree of pedigree as what Boston has. That being said, Indiana phenomenal. I mean,
Mhm.
they are a consistent 3 to 6 seed every single year, no matter who's on the court.
Right.
That's what you want to strive for because in the East, let's be honest, the East is wide open.
Mhm.
I mean, anyone can make it to the
Yep.
NBA Finals, and as long as you get to the dance, anything can happen. And we saw it with Toronto last year. I mean, they had Kawhi Leonard,
But they're still near the top.
but
this
they
year.
were still near the top. Yeah, absolutely.
And who's at the top? Milwaukee, because they have
Well-
who people think is another one of those once in a generation type players. and
Unless
agree-
you're James Harden, who
Right.
thinks that you're
Right. Now
seven,
they-
at
there's-
least you can be 7 foot tall. Glad you can dunk.
Yeah.
Shut up, James.
Yeah, I mean,
Just shut up.
yeah, I mean, he was third fiddle to Westbrook and KD for a while, and then got to break out. And
Do you
they're
remember
trying.
whenever Giannis threw the ball and hit
Oh,
James in
yeah.
the face last year? Like,
Yeah.
I want to
That's
see that
being-
on repeat all the time now.
That
It's
video's going
fantastic.
around. That video's going
Yeah.
around. I think I saw a tweet where it said, when you mention being 7 foot is so easy,
Ding.
and then you see and it's like Giannis throws the
Yeah.
ball at Harden.
Fantastic.
So those things are going to happen. Maybe beasts like that are going to happen. But Milwaukee is at the top of the East because they have that player, but they also have a lot of players around there that have established a team culture.
Yeah.
Even when LeBron was back here, we still even with LeBron and Kyrie, it was still like give the ball to LeBron, give the ball to Kyrie. It wasn't that team basketball movement that you saw Golden State when they brought those 3 guys up from draft prospects to an actual culture
Mhm.
and being that team. That is the model you're seeing more so in the NBA now than having just one guy that can lead a whole franchise like you have in the past. And there's elements of that from the past too. The Bulls, the Lakers with Magic, the Bulls with Jordan and Pippen, Magic, Kareem for the Lakers. Those types of super teams that
Sure.
weren't necessarily developed the same way now. It's just team culture. And it's going to take the one word that we hate in Cleveland sports. Do you know what that word is, Paulus?
Patience.
Patience. Another word that starts with a P, though. The one word that a lot of Cleveland fans hate to hear, and especially when it comes to the football team, but more just in general for the whole sports
I'm
culture.
drawing a blank right now.
Process.
Oh, yeah.
It's going to
Trust
be
the process, yeah.
yeah, and not what the 76ers did.
Right.
It's going to be a process to get basketball back to being relevant in the NBA.
It's a good call. Yeah.
You can get that process going if you make the right decisions, have the right people in place, and have the players that can get that culture going and bring all the new guys along and say, this is how we do things. If you're not here to do that, you can walk out that door right now. That's what a great culture is in professional sports.